So you wanna go to war with me? You're talking like you think you're royalty. You think that I'm afraid, but I don't break. I heard you question my stability. You think I'll fall just like a guillotine, but I am here to stay. Won't look away. Storm is coming, so you better start running. No, you can't control it in my bones. I'm coming for the, coming for the.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome, welcome.
Hello.
Hello. How are you doing today?
Welcome, friends. We are here, full of cheer.
Yeah. We got Eva's here, JC's here, Becca's here. Hello, everyone. Let me pull up.
I am of the curious to see how many people show up today because we're a day early.
We are a day early, yes. Very different time than usual. Not different time, different day.
Same time, different day, slightly earlier.
Have we ever done a Monday before? Because we'll push to like Wednesday sometimes. Like twice.
Yeah, and we used to never pick a day. It was just whenever.
That's true.
We used to not have a standing last Tuesday of the month, so
that's a big improvement.
We haven't pushed to a Wednesday in a year because my in-person book club is the last Wednesday of the month. So like, I know we haven't done that. I'm not saying we definitely started out at the third Tuesday of the month and have pushed to the fourth or the last Wednesday or Tuesday of the month rather.
Yeah.
Whether there's 4 or 5, we're just on the last one, whichever one that is. But it's fine.
Yeah. Well, we pushed today. Actually, we jumped. We could say we jumped today. We pulled. Yeah, chirped.
Something like that.
I was like, because I'm leaving tomorrow morning so that I can slowly make my way up to Jessica. Slowly. Very
at a snail's pace. But to be fair, it's a long drive.
It's a long drive, and I just perfectly have 2 brothers like positioned on the way there. So that's nice. Hello. Hi, friends. Welcome. Oh, see. Yeah. And also, what are days? What day is it? Who knows?
When you have a real job in the real world, you know what day of the week it is.
You do know. Yeah. I honestly, it helps me when my partner goes into the office because I'm like, oh yes, this is that day. When he stays home, it takes me a bit to be like, oh, is it what day? Where am I? I just work on the weekends. It doesn't matter. Time means nothing. Rescheduled. Yes, thank you, Charlotte.
We don't reschedule.
Never. Who would do that?
We've never done that. Not one time.
Mary, I haven't read it either. Oh, yes, this is good. Well, so for those of you who are here, hello, welcome. We are discussing Gone Girl for this month's book club / movie club pick, I would say. The whole goal for this year was to both like read the book and watch the adaptation, or vice versa, depending on what came first, and compare, contrast, learn how to write a screenplay from Sid Field. Oh, you can see my pen. And yeah, I think it's been really fun. I've enjoyed the adaptation as a whole discussion. And
I have enjoyed the adaptation discussion. Mm-hmm. I have zero clue what our theme's going to be next year for books.
Yeah.
Anybody has any suggestions? We'll take those.
Yes.
For next year's book club. I have no idea where we're at in the book because I get lost every time I don't know. My plan is I'm probably going to not read as much in November and December as I have been, because I read 22 books in August. I've read like 13 this month, I think.
Mm.
And some of them have been some chunkers. Like I read a Sanderson last month and I read 22 books. So if you can explain that,
I'm
I
very
would greatly appreciate it. And then next month I'm going to be trying to do 31 books in 31 days, as always. So I think I probably will just like read this whole book in December. Because I can do my yearly stats early because I wouldn't count this in my stats for the year. So things like this help at the end of the year because I can just do all of my end of the year stats and stuff early and get my videos up in December during Advent instead of having to push them into January.
Yeah. I am continually impressed. Oh my gosh. I'm by how much you read. Yeah, it's so impressive.
I've never done 31 books in 31 days. I think my most was 17. Now, like I said, I did read 22 books last month. I think that last month was my highest month, but I was doing the Amazing Readathon and I was a team captain. And so I was like, I have to like do the absolute most for my team.
Mm-hmm.
So did we still come in last place? Yes. Did Zoe read like 60 some books? Also, yes. Like we read like crazy and still were in last place, but everybody was pretty close. So
okay, that's fun. Yeah, I'm very impressed.
I think Bethany read like 64 or 65 books. She was on a different team, but like Bethany read like double her normal amount. It was
holy shit,
insane. It was an insane month. We all were like, I never want to read a book again.
Like my eyes, my ears, no.
But I've still read almost every day this month. So, because I keep track of how many days of the month I read at least a chapter.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh, how do you determine the chapter cutoff for that?
It just has to be a chapter. Like.
Well, I mean, how did you, for your own personal stats, were you like a chapter just feels right or?
Because I just was like trying to decide if I was like, how often am I actually reading?
Mm.
And some days I only get to listen like to work and from work, and that's usually a chapter. Okay. So I read the most that I could that day. So a chapter.
I gotcha. I also love this idea. I'm seeing we could do like some themes. We could do entirely Witcher Reads next year. There's a bunch of them.
There are.
Even seasonal too.
Right. The only thing about doing like only a romance or only Stephen King is like you don't want to alienate someone from not being able to join in because that's not a genre that they read. So like you have to pick a theme that overlies multiple genres, and that way there's hopefully at least a book at least 1 month that everybody would like.
Oh, likes. Yeah.
Not in that way. Not one book that everyone would like, but everyone has at least one book that they would read.
Yes. We got you.
Well,
see, JC, that could still fit.
All female heroines, if I can speak of the English.
Yeah. See, we will take all the suggestions.
Listen, I am a witch and therefore will not tell you that we will not have a witch theme. I'm just saying.
There must be.
I won't turn you down.
Let's see. Okay. I'll say I just put a poll up. I think we have about half of y'all have voted, but I guess depending on which channel you're on, if you've watched Gone Girl, read or watched. And so I actually think we have a higher rate than normal. Only 52% have done neither. Usually it's like, I want to say 80 or something, 70. But this time, most people have at least seen it, or 25% have seen it. 4% have done both. 50% have, reversed. I can't talk. Hello. Yes. Jess.
I have an idea.
Okay.
What if we picked the first week of the last 5 years and pick from like the New York Times bestsellers list, like the #1 book that week for the past 5 years and
Yeah.
then pick a book from those 5.
I love that. I've been wanting to do a bestsellers I missed sort of thing. So
Right,
that was
because
it
I
now.
don't right, either that or, like, Goodreads Choice winners,
Yes.
Goodreads
Also.
Choice Award winners for the year,
Yeah.
and go over, like, the last 4 or 5 years and, like, pick a different genre every month, and then pick a book from each genre over the past 4 or 5 years.
I think that would be really fun. Plus, then we can talk about how those books got so popular. Some of the ones we
Right.
picked this year were kind of like more niche.
Well, because we have more people get to read along and enjoy the conversation when it's a book that more people have read or more people are interested in reading, and
Yeah.
that's why Gone Girl is so
Yeah.
many of us have read it or seen it is because it is so popular.
Mhm.
So that might be a way to go. I'll look at the different genres on Goodreads and see if there's 12 genres to pull from, or at least like 10, because we typically only do 10, let's be honest. We usually kind of skiff off around November, December. So there's 10 months we can pull from.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Let's see. Do we want to discuss movie first, book first? The author Gillian Flynn also adapted this work for the screenplay. So I'd say compared to some others we've watched, it's a very faithful adaptation. I think maybe there's only a few things cut truly from the movie just for time's sake. So I would love to know for those who have read and watched, which you preferred, the book or the movie. And I'll throw that over to you too, Jess. Did you prefer the movie or the book? I know you have feelings.
And I have preferred neither.
Yes.
I preferred neither.
Very funny to me.
I grasp the concept of why the book is popular, why the movie is popular. I don't think the writing is bad. I don't think the concept is bad. It's just more vulgar and crass than I particularly like to read.
Yes.
I didn't mind like even like the plot twists and the plot itself, not awful, but I don't want to read about the things that were happening, and I didn't want to watch the things that were happening. Um, Especially in something that's like I'm even very particular about my horror. I don't like body gore in horror, and this was like a mystery thriller with a lot of body horror, in my opinion.
Yes, yeah. So the premise of Gone Girl, for those of you who don't know, I imagine even the 50% who haven't read or watched probably have heard about it. Is basically this pretty wife goes missing, and her husband is, of course, the number one suspect for her disappearance. And she was also famously within the book universe, the inspiration behind this amazing Amy series that her parents created. And so there's a whole lot of hype and hubbub around her disappearance. It's told in 3 parts. So we get the first part from Amy's diary's perspective and Nick, the husband's perspective, alternating. And then part 2 and 3 are when the twisty twists happened. And we will be all spoilers from here on out.
So if you don't want to know what happened,
if you don't want to know, we will see you later. But yeah, I mean, because of her disappearance and because of the lengths she goes to frame her husband, and also the stuff that happens later. I mean, there's a whole bunch of body stuff. She has to get her own blood. She has to cut things. She kills someone. It is a bunch.
does a lot to herself, to her body, to make it look as though she was sexually assaulted by a person who kidnapped her when she was never kidnapped.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like, there's no part of me that like when I gave the book a 3-star, but I did not write a review. So that's a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
I did read it in 2019 though, so I could have like went back to had I looked at it before, I could have went back to YouTube and found it somewhere and watched my review. But I just, like I said, it's not bad. It's actually a fairly decent plot twist and a fairly decent plot in general, but it's not my style.
That's fair. Yeah. I feel like a 3 is probably the best I could rate something that is technically good all around, but not for me. I really enjoyed it. I also don't know that I don't read these kind of books a lot. So for me, I thought Gillian Flynn's writing was like a kind of high point and probably the reason I continued reading something that usually is probably a bit too much for me. I thought her writing was excellent across both Nick's character and both like Diary Amy and then the switch to real Amy. I bet, except I'd seen the movie first, I bet that twist would have been insane to me the first time. I mean, it's kind of insane the first time you see it anyways, but like had I not known going into it, the writing in the diary is so different from her.
I didn't know the twist going into it, which is odd because it had been out for a while when I read it. It had been out for 5 years when I read it, but I also hadn't been on BookTube until like 2017. So there was only a couple of years where it would have been possible for me to have got information from it. But I remember where I was at the plot twist because I used to, I don't anymore, but I used to have a Bluetooth speaker in the shower and I would like listen while I was in the shower too. And I was in the shower during the plot twist. Like I remember being in the shower listening to the story while I was washing my hair and it went to the twist and I was like, yeah, be fucking kidding me right now. Seriously?
What the fuck? Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, it was very interesting. And I kind of felt like I knew that that's what was going to happen, but only because so many people had said there was like this huge twist. And you're like, so while you're watching it or listening to it, you're going, okay, what is a likely twist to happen in here that is going to make people feel that way?
Yeah. Hold on.
Yes.
I have an alarm going off. Well, I have a question about the cool girl monologue too.
Go take care of your alarm. It doesn't let me click on things. I don't have power here. It was in the shower during a plot twist. Does sound like some Hitchcock psycho stuff. Or you could just say I'm psycho. That's also fair. But I appreciate the Hitchcock mention, but also I'm crazy. The cat got a lot of screen time. I also didn't know the genre. Fair enough, Eva. I think the cat also got a lot of screen time. I do agree.
Yeah, I thought the cat was going to
have... Not mad.
Man, yeah. So the book, the movie, let's see. Let me scroll down to boom. When did you first hear the cool girl monologue? Was it when you read the book or was it when had you heard about it before?
Like as a concept?
Or as a concept, yeah. I feel like because I was really late on the train, I had actually I'd like read the cool girl monologue quoted elsewhere and like people referenced it all the time on social media before I ever actually saw the movie or read the book. And it's almost like, I don't know if it's word for word in the movie, but I know it is in the movie pretty closely to the way they do it in the book. So,
you know, it's so much of like what she said is like so true, but everything that she does is an act. And so like, who did she steal that from?
Oh, that's an interesting,
Who did she take it from? Because she didn't have any, she didn't have any original ideas.
Other than to frame, to frame her husband. But yeah, no, I'm with you.
I'm pretty sure that happened in a Jennifer Lopez movie in the late 90s first. So I'm just saying. Is it enough? I think it's enough with Jennifer Lopez, where her husband is a cop and she frames him for her murder and runs away because he's abusive and she can't get away because he's a cop. That's right. Said it.
Yeah. Man, what a friggin'. I know the overall story. I was reading an AMA that Gillian Flynn had done on the book subreddit, and she talked about being inspired by, if not this case, a lot of the cases that were popping up at the time, where the point was that it's always the husband. And it's crazy.
And they do, much like Nick in the movie and the book, they come across as very nonchalant. There'll be a picture of them smiling, but it's like it's a reaction. Like someone goes to take your picture, you smile. It's the same as like when your power goes out and you walk into a room, you flip the light switch on. There's no power. It's not doing any good. Mm-hmm. But it's just an automatic reaction that your body does. So to me, it's like a weird. The reason why I like true crime is because it's a look at people's psyche and to like understand the way people's minds work the way they do. And this book is very big on that. Like, what convinced Amy to be that level of psychotic? Did it have to do with her parents always treating Amazing Amy better than her? Because, like she quit playing trombone or tuba or whatever it was she played. And the next year, Amazing Amy was playing the instrument and got first chair in band.
Oh my God.
And she got cut from the freshman volleyball team, but Amazing Amy got all state in her senior year. Like, Amazing Amy got married first. They had a fucking party, a wedding party for Amazing Amy. And Amy in real life wasn't married yet.
Yeah.
Which that scene in the movie of like, which I can't remember the book because I read the book in 2019 and I was not going to reread it. Sorry. But like him like sitting there with like all of the reporters because he's also a reporter. That scene is so smooth. It was so well done. Like,
it's so interesting because I haven't seen the movie in a few months that I don't even remember. I don't remember that part. They do have those similar scenes in the book with just the juxtaposition between how Amazing Amy's treated and then the very real Amy having to go to the events with Amazing Amy, even as an adult. And her parents are the worst. That's what, let me, a different question. I thought all of the people in the book were terrible, more or less. Like some of them were less terrible than others, but they're all pretty bad. Like I do wonder how much of that, was Amy a narcissist? It's, how much is the complaints about her parents real? She talks about it in the diary, but then like in the real version of her is also so mad. It was like every friend or like guy she used to date also talked about how much she hated the comparisons with Amazing Amy. I don't know. Her parents did a number on her. Was she ever
also like Desi was psychotic.
Oh my God, it was so quick to being, they're all bad.
He was like, oh, by the way, I've just been waiting for you to call me and now we're going to be like married. And I know that your husband just beat the crap out of you, but let's have sex. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, in the book version, he's like a little bit tamer than that, but he also has the whole tulip room that he created for her and had like the greenhouse that he'd been watering and doing all this stuff for like at least a year, planning on her being there somehow. And
he had bought clothes in her size, her favorite foods were there. Like, how did he know all of this about her? He hadn't dated her since high school.
Yeah, it does honestly, such a job of it. Yeah,
I'm moderately happy that she killed him because
that's what I was
afraid he would have killed someone else had he gotten obsessed with someone else. He may have already killed someone else. We don't know.
We don't know
his backstory. We just know he's a psychopath.
A rich man who could get away with it if he wanted to. So scary. yeah, it's one of those where once you finally get Amy's, like, real Amy's perspective, if she even knows who real Amy is, because it's hard to say. Her whole point at the end is she's still like, great, now I get to try and pretend to be the best wife and the best mom again, because you'll pretend to. Like, they're very much about all pretending. So who is Amy? But yeah, I rooted for Amy to kill him. I was like, you know what, please. And honestly, I rooted for Amy to frame her husband. I was like, Nick sucks. Frame him. Like, I did not. I was like, Amy also sucks. Deserves to have her money stolen from her, I guess.
I wonder if, like, does Nick really suck, or like, was he in a bad place? Like, was he backed into a corner that there really wasn't any way out of? Because she owned everything that he had, including his bar that his sister was part owner of. That was like their only source of income. And so, like, it wasn't like he could divorce her and leave her. Right. Because she would have everything and he would have nothing. And I mean, you can, but like, and he was planning to. He had like planned on, I mean, dick move, planning to talk to the woman about a divorce on your anniversary for sure. But like, he was actually like working towards getting out of the relationship. But
I think it is hard because it's pretty clear that Amy pretended to be who he wanted at the start of the relationship. So I can see the argument that she kind of like, I don't want to say.
But did she? Because all of that perspective is from Diary Amy, and she wrote all of that like in the weeks leading up to her disappearance.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think she faked being, even back then, not from the diary perspective. I think Amy was a different person that Nick met, really. And then she did slowly change, which was his point. But also, even then, he sounded like he sucked. Like, from his perspective, he admitted that he had done bad thing, didn't care, and like never noticed. He says like there's a marked difference at the end where he's like, oh, now I'm the one paying attention to what she does finally, but only because I'm afraid she's gonna fucking
kill me in my sleep
or like whatever. But he's like, but now I'm paying attention. Like, it was just,
the only person that I really liked was his sister Margot. I liked her. And there were even points where I didn't love her necessarily, but she was at least a likable character for the most point, because she was at least like, her mom was dead. Her dad was in like a mental institution, and her brother was being framed for his wife's murder. And she's like the one that's got to hold all the shit down. And I was like, girl, I can relate. So
I think that the book needed Margot. The book needed one person to be like a Nick, you're being dumb here. Nick, this is a bad idea. Like, you should be more worried about Amy, like in the earlier part of the book where she's like, what are you doing? Like, you're not acting like, we needed some little grounding moment. I think she kind of sucked in the first like chapter or two, but it was from Nick's perspective. And Nick, I mean, I think Nick sucks. I mean, is he on the same level as the woman who like framed him for murder and like tried to trap him, then again trapped him with an actual baby at the end of it? Like, no, he's not on that level. But does he suck? I think he kind of sucks.
He's a horrible, as Eva said, he wasn't a great husband, but he wasn't a malicious man. Like, I know men like that who are terrible husbands but are perfectly fine people.
Okay, but he also
wasn't a perfectly fine person.
He was a professor. He then like started dating a student. Like, he is normal bad. Okay, in the real
normal
world,
bad. Yeah,
like, you're not good.
Yeah,
and then there's Amy.
Normal bad. I also liked the lead investigator. I do think she was cool.
I
like that she was one of the very few people who really questioned everything. And was like, sometimes if everything looks too easy, it is.
Yeah. I think we also needed her in the story. And I loved in part 3, just the disappointment we get to sort of see from her that Nick is no longer going to pursue this. And yeah, I I liked her finally telling Nick the name of her daughter at the end of the book, because she's like, I didn't want to, I believed you, and then I didn't want to believe you because everything was pointing the wrong way, and I didn't want to tell you my daughter's name because I didn't want to get that much closer. And it's just, it felt very human. So her and Margot, we did need as a grounding force.
There needed to be someone in the book that you didn't absolutely loathe.
Yeah.
As far as like book to movie adaptation, fantastic job. Great.
Yeah.
Did a fantastic job. There are definitely scenes that weren't in the movie that were in the book, or things weren't as lengthy, but they did a really good job of the transferring of book to movie and making it work. But again, was that because the screenplay was written by the author of the book? Maybe.
Yeah, I would also have loved to see, it's one of those terrible, like, we'll never know how someone else would have done it. I think Gillian Flynn did probably the best job at adapting her own work. I think it's kind of incredible how similar they are, and like whatever was cut felt, I think, sort of necessary for the different mediums.
It was really just like extraneous scenes. Like, you don't see how fucking crazy Desi was in the movie. Like, it didn't go through everything that Desi did.
Yeah, you're just like,
for her, and like everything that she did to frame him. It didn't go through all of that, but there was enough that you got the point.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And you don't see correct me if I'm wrong, you don't see the full lengths Nick is going to try and like investigate it on his own.
Correct.
Just like some of it was journalistic interest and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So generally, Jess, do you need to have a main character be likable in order to enjoy the book?
It depends on likable, because I like prickly heroines, especially, and I do like a prickly hero. I like some, probably because I'm prickly, I like people with a prickly personality. But if they're like, if Amy was the main character of this book and it was just her perspective, there's no way I could read it. Like, I would not, because I would just be like, I can't.
Mm-hmm.
I need there to be someone likable, or it to be something where it's like, because again, the point of a book, as I have said a bajillion times, typically the point of the book is for the character to have a character arc and to become possibly a better person at the end. Sometimes they become a worse person at the end, but they're supposed to be an arc. So if they start out unlikable, highly likely that they'll become likable by the end, or at least you'll understand why they're not as likable. But I think if it just went full tilt Amy, the whole thing, I don't think I could read that.
No, and I think this is another genius reason to start it with the diary entry version of Amy, because I think if you actually had Nick and Amy's perspectives back to back before Nick has realized anything, it would just be, I think it would be too much for me. Early Amy, you get moments of like sort of levity and sweetness, because I mean, she's obviously framing him and doing all this stuff, but like we get to see like what we think are cute moments. So you're kind of like, oh, she's nice. Who would kill her? And yes. So I agree. I think in general, I also like a petty main character. I don't mind a prickly character. There's very few other books I think I could read like this where I dislike almost everyone. But they were so compelling, I think. And again, I think it's also a testament to her writing that I enjoyed so much that I was like, okay.
Well, then you also knew the story too. So like, you already knew that it was a story that you liked.
Yes, that's true. That's very true. It makes it easier. Mm-hmm. I think there has to be a likable main character, but one or more of the main characters can be unlikable. So like a balance. Mm-hmm. Or at least save the cat. Yep. The arc. Yeah, hooked us with nice Amy. Exactly. Well, and I thought it was genius. The split between, I think part 2 happens exactly halfway through. And then I want to say part 3 is like the last 80%. maybe less of the book.
So last 20%.
Yeah, sorry, thank you. So the sections, like, it works so well. It was well paced. Yes. Let me see. Oh yeah, well, I guess. Did you have a preference, if for those of you who read, between Nick's or Amy's perspective?
I think I liked reading Nick's perspective more, if I remember correctly. A, because his perspective is less vulgar and crass.
It's somehow
and it also is more about trying to figure out what Amy had done. Done. And yeah, I think Nick, just because that's like where the mystery lies, and also he was not as disgusting to read as she was.
She was very vulgar. I mean, he had his dad's, he calls it his dad's thing, where it's definitely like a lot of like bitch and like just saying like just mean things about women. That was like, Nick would sometimes check himself and say it was his dad coming forward, but other times it was he did not check himself. But as a whole, it was definitely less vulgar than Amy's was. I'm with you. And I agree. The mystery is from Nick's point of view. I think when Amy, I don't know why this stuck with me so much besides the wine bottle, but when Amy is first in the motel, she's making friends with someone, and the girl says that she like, it's kind of an offhand comment about like real Amy who's on the TV when she's pretending to be someone else, says some mean things about her or is just speculating. And then she goes to the girl's fridge and just spits in her milk, spits in her food and stuff. And I was like, this is all I needed to know about this character, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Ava. I wish I could see what it was. I'll have to check over here. Oh, yeah. There is going to be a sequel, or Gillian Flynn was working on one with the baby, like once the baby's in its teen years.
Really?
Yes. Hold on. This is what I had the AMA pulled up and I was reading it like halfway through the book and I was like, excuse me?
That is that's a thing.
Oh, I wish I could. Yeah.
Honestly, I am just sad that she didn't just take all those pills and throw herself in the Gulf of Mexico like she talked about doing. Wish she would have done it. Book would have been not as good, but I'd have been a happier person.
I mean, she had so many times where she's like, I'm just going to actually kill myself. I'm just going to do this. And like, that was her plan all along. And it was an interesting character flip when she's like, I don't deserve that. And I'm like, yeah, this girl crazy.
I can't.
Should have done it.
She should
have done it.
Because now she's going to have a child, and the kid's going to have to grow up with that parent. Plus, the two parents that she has are psychotic. There's no way that kid's going to be stable.
No. I cannot even imagine. Do you feel like your characters are likable, Jess? Or do you
more so now than before?
Huh?
More so now than before.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
You read Emma. You know what Emma used to be like.
Yeah. Is that something you focus on when you're first planning things?
Not really.
Yeah.
The character's personality comes from whatever the story needs it to be. Like, the character's personality is what the plot needs the character's personality to be in order to have the character arc throughout the plot. Change the plot, change the personality. Hence Emma, much more likable than originally.
Yeah, I do think there was a time, I don't see it as much now in YA, but I mean, you read more than I do, Jess, so maybe you can tell me if you've noticed something, but I think there was a time, like 2012 or something. I feel like the YA then had more characters that were sort of young characters that I thought were unlikable.
every YA female
Well,
protagonist from 2008 to 2014 was prickly, unlikable, didn't have any friends, was a loner.
yeah.
Nobody wanted to be her friend. And I'm like, because you're an asshole.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah. Okay.
And like authors did it to like be different from other books, but then they were all exactly the same. Yeah. I think your character's personality should be based off of what you need the character arc to be in order for the plot to work.
Yeah.
But that's just
another question I have, because from the same AMA, is how many drafts do you usually write of your stories?
Too many. I think Emma's on draft 4. My adult high fantasy's on draft 7-ish. So it just depends.
Well, that's what I loved in the AMA. She says, I write a zillion drafts. I have an extra 200 pages of most of my books.
Yeah.
Which I always appreciate seeing that as a response, where it's just like, you gotta write as many as it takes to get it done.
I don't think it's over here anymore. I think it's over there now. But I mean, I went unhinged in a live stream several months ago and pulled out every edition of my adult high fantasy that I have that's like printed on paper, and I have like 6 or 7 just like full drafts that are between 350 and 400 pages. And based off of the last change that I made to the universe, none of that is usable. So, I mean, we're talking multiple drafts, multiple hundreds of pages. Very little of it is usable. So,
yeah, the amount of times I've had to restart things because I realized part of the way through, like an integral world building change or a character needs to be pulled out. I mean, with Project Death, I've had to do that several times where I'm like, no, just needs this and it needs that. Depends on the book. 012, haven't gotten further than that. No idea how many drafts. Some have gotten 5, some have gotten 1 and shelved.
Samesies.
I write too few drafts, trying to improve by fully rewriting things. The ones with mini restarts have dozens of drafts, but none are complete. That's all right, Eva.
Samesies.
Yeah, certain books.
I mean, technically, there is a finished draft, a finished manuscript of The Anku's Curse. It is not one that we like, but there is one that exists. There is also a completed final manuscript of my adult high fantasy. We don't like it, but it exists.
Yeah.
So, like, I could publish it tomorrow if I wanted. I'm not going to because it's awful. But it is technically finished.
Yeah.
Based off of what this story was originally supposed to be.
Yes. Yeah. No, I have that with several stories too. Sometimes I used to do the thing where I would just start bullet pointing at the end if I realized there was a change, and I was like, I just need to technically finish this draft to make myself feel better, even though I'm going to go back and change things. I'm like, let me just finish it. People are telling you they think it's good enough. They believe it. Disagree.
I can't tell you when the last time I actually worked on my adult high fantasy. It's probably been my first year of BookTube, so 2017. Probably.
Yeah. But I believe that I will be getting one soon for the Anku's Curse. Soon as it asks.
You might be believing a lie.
Look. My goal for us, Jessica, is we're both going to write 50K out the writing retreat. That's my hope.
Listen, I'm not drinking any of that Jim Jones Kool-Aid, but you go right ahead. I currently have a little over 15,000 words, and I am at the 26% mark.
Okay.
So, as always, this should get me to around 60,000 words, which is not enough, but whatever. But legitimately, I'm going to have a 10K day between now and when we get together in order to finish this fucking thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know this, but we're doing a live stream right now that has nothing to do with writing. And tomorrow I'm going to Brittany's, and I also have to like clean my house and get things ready for next week. And then, oh wait, then we're here. So
yeah. Well, that's my 10K each day of the retreat, Jess, and then it'll be done.
I want to do some fun things too. I know the more I write this week, the less I have to write next week. It's fine.
This is just my absurd goals. You know what? We're actually relatively close on where we're at, as I am doing the
shortening
condense move. So I do understand. Right now mine's sitting at 18,342, but honestly, it should, if I could get it down to 15,000 for the point that I'm at, that'd be amazing. I don't know that it's going to do that, but
I am at the first scene where everything has to be rewritten.
Okay.
And I've just stopped. I haven't worked on it for like 3 months. I was like, I got to rewrite everything from scratch now.
You're like,
I'm not going to do it.
Right. You're like, never mind.
Never mind. I did have this epiphany the other night while I was talking to Katie and Devasha. I know none of you are here for this, but it's fine. You're just going to deal with it. I have been chucking, unhauling, getting rid of YA contemporaries left and right lately because it's not what I want to read at all. And I'm like, girl, you're trying to write one. Like, I know it has a magic aspect, but it's very, I mean, you've read the other version. It's not like a huge magic aspect.
It's
it's getting some more in this round of edits or rewrites because I'm rewriting 75% of it. But am I not wanting to write it because I'm also not reading those right now? Like, I'm not interested in them.
Okay, because I was about to call you out and be like, yours is not YA contemporary. I was like, but it is, I see what you're saying. It is like a YA fantastical, but in a very contemporary setting. So like, I see what you're saying.
Like, I even read a Kate Alice Marshall this year that I fucking love Kate Alice Marshall, and I gave it 4 stars. So YA contemporary with a little bit of magic is usually my jam, and I have not been wanting to read them lately, like for a year.
Okay. So. Well, but we're getting on spooky season. Have you reread recently some of your favorite, like, because you have some YA contemporaries with magic in them that you really
I love. Yeah.
So maybe the key would be to reread those and then like jumpstart the writing of your story again.
I'm just gonna suffer and I'm gonna finish it. And then don't know what I'm gonna do for the rest of October. Probably finish it because it's not gonna be done. And then in November I'm gonna work on the adult romance werewolf story. So
yay. Okay. I was already knew your Nano. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Nano, I'm going to start a new draft. It'll be the first time I've done like a new draft for Nano in like 5 or 6 years.
That's fun.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I have a couple projects because I have some that I've started this year and I haven't finished. I feel like I kind of want to finish them, but also I did have an idea for a romantasy, which I've never written before. And I do sort of desperately want to have something new for Nano, but anyways, I'm kind of fighting myself trying to figure out. I'll figure it out later.
I mean, I feel like the adult romance werewolf story is essentially a romantasy.
No, that totally.
It's a paranormal romance.
Yeah,
it's the same deal. Okay. I just have to figure out how open and or closed I want the doors to be.
Oh,
that's where I'm currently debating.
Have you written a sex scene before?
I have, but like,
was it open or closed? Then, or open. Like how open?
Listen, I used to write fan fiction, so very open. But I don't know that I'm comfortable doing that in a book that I would possibly sell to someone. So like,
I
I'm
do
not like,
things.
I'm not that person who's like, I don't want my mom to read it because my mom's never going to read a book, so it doesn't matter. My grandmothers are dead. They're not going to read them either. So it's like, I'm not worried about people I know reading it. I
Yeah.
just don't know that I am the person who should be selling someone sex scenes. Like, I don't know that I'm the person for that.
Right.
So I don't know.
Okay.
I'm deciding how open and or closed the door shall be.
Okay. I feel like I would like to revisit this topic in about 8 days, 7 days, 5 days, whatever you
I also have made the conscious decision that I'm not, because I read a lot of paranormal romance, like a lot of paranormal romance. And why is it that we're writing paranormal romance with plus size female main characters who are like squishy or pudgy or whatever, but the dudes are still like fucking cut and like they work out and they're at the gym all the time? And I'm like, why can't we have like a nerdy like dude? Like, why can't we have a guy that's pudgy or squishy or whatever? Like, why are they always like super hot, mega cut dudes?
Yeah.
Like, why is that a thing? Like,
there's a little bit of double standard at play.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I am going to fix that.
You're rectifying the situation. Yes.
I will not be rectifying the situation in my adult high fantasy because them dudes are fucking cut. But in paranormal romance, I will. I'll fix it.
It's also, I feel like, dad bod demons. Yes.
Exactly.
Dad bod demons.
I just like the covers are so ridiculous because they're all cartoons anymore anyway. But like the women are like, you know, my size women, which is fine. I love having my size women on covers of books. But then the dudes are like 6'5" and they're like this big and their wingspans are 8 feet, which means they've got a big wiener. Like, can we not, like, why is that a thing?
Right.
Why is that a thing?
Right. Well, I'm excited to read your book.
I have to write it first.
I know you do. And
I mean, you'll be the first one who gets to read it because that's your job. But
yes,
I have to write it first. So.
Yeah. Well, they can be hot. They can be hot and fluffy.
Yeah. It's like there's nothing wrong with hot, cuddly. I mean, you don't have to be at the gym 23 days a week. Listen, I didn't write the Sarah J. Maas books. They wrote themselves, okay?
Okay, I have 2 questions that are technically from our Sid field, but you don't have to have read this to take part in the questions, okay?
I'm ready.
Perfect. This is something I've been thinking about. So Sid Field argues that every scene should have one element or reveal. So either like pushing the plot forward, or like a character moment. You know, we learn more about the world. Like there should be one reveal in each scene. If the scene does not have a reveal, it does not need to be there. Do you agree or disagree with that? And or also, when do you start thinking about that sort of thing? If you do, is it during drafting? Is it during revision? Is that how you naturally think of storytelling as like a...
I would say in a book, no. In a screenplay, yes.
Okay.
Because you are telling the same story in a much smaller span of time. Because, you know, you can't read a book in the same amount of time. Even if you take out the head talk in a book, it's still going to be longer than what a movie would be. And you would have to put the head talk in some other way to make the thing make the sense. So yeah, in a screenplay, I think you need every scene has to have a purpose. Now, that purpose could be fan service. That could be the purpose. It could have no purpose for the plot. It could be a fan service moment, especially when you get into like multiple sequels or something like that. But that is part of the enjoyment of that screenplay. So I could say that like that makes sense.
I agree with that so strongly. I just have to go, ooh.
I've never watched them, so I've only ever watched the original 3, and that was a couple of years ago at Becca's insistence. So I do think that, yes, in a screenplay, every scene should have a purpose. It should have an element or a reveal or an important character moment or a fan service, something like that. I think it's important.
Yeah, because I'm having to condense right now, I'm thinking about this a lot, where I'm looking at individual scenes I've written and I've looked at it and I'm like, if there's only one reveal or there's only like a little bit of something here, sometimes I'm like, I guess I can scrap this. I need the words and I can put this one reveal or this one thing in a different scene. And that's kind of the game I'm having to play, is how necessary something is and really timing it like that with my scene. So I think there's a quote, but I don't know where it is, not from Sitfield, that also talks about, someone said that a scene should be doing two things each time. It should be like revealing character, or it should be doing, but I don't have it on me. So if I find the quote though, I will let you all know.
I want you to know I have not been reading this book, but I have, in fact, been watching The Covenant ad nauseum, preparing my brain to write a screenplay of a sequel that will never exist.
Very excited. Yes.
Me too.
I agree about needing a reveal of some kind of neat scene. Otherwise, it's just vibes. And I don't particularly like books that are just vibes. You can weave vibes into scenes. So that's actually a good point too. Sometimes it's like a stylistic thing. I know a lot of slice of life books are like almost exclusively vibes, right?
Listen, if it's a fall witchy book, I can live off of vibes. It doesn't even need to have a plot, my dude. I can, like, I'm here.
Yes.
Sign me up.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of time. So it has to be doing something. Okay, and then I have the final question for y'all. Oops, if I can press the right button. Do you enjoy writing action scenes / sequences? Have you written one before? And do you find them more or less difficult than other scenes to write?
I have written them in novels. I haven't written them in screenplays because I've written exactly one sentence in a screenplay and went, no, thank you. And that was whenever we tried that experiment last year before, who knows. But my adult high fantasy is very warrior focused. I mean, literally the working title is Warriors of Comadria. So like they fight.
War.
They do some fighting. And I like writing action scenes. I like writing action sequences. I mean, action sequences can be things besides fighting. One of my favorite movies is This Means War, which is technically a romance, but also an action movie. Have you seen it?
Yes, I have so many thoughts, but go ahead. Yeah.
Because it's literally just like very attractive men on the screen. Reese Witherspoon, not bad to look at, but also shit is blowing up all the fucking time. Like it's just action scene after action scene after action scene. That whole movie is just like stuff blowing up and doing this and doing that. Like it's so much fun to watch. Yeah. And so I like to write them because they're fun to watch.
Yeah. This Means War is my perfect example of a movie that I actually don't think is good, but I love it nonetheless. Because of what you're saying. It is just nonstop action and hijinks, and I cannot get over it. And Chris Pine, and I am blanking on his name right now.
I'll never remember it.
I can't remember.
Man, it's attractive.
Those two are so good. Reese Witherspoon, shockingly, as much as I love her, in this movie I could have taken her or left her. But there's
the banter between the two guys when they realize that they're like going after the same girl. Amazing. And then they're like, well, we're gonna fight for her, and then just like the whole thing is so good, so bad, but so good.
Yes.
And like it's the perfect movie to like watch with your spouse who is like an action movie freak, because there's plenty for them to watch.
It is just so fun.
Says the girl who does not have a spouse. But it's fine.
It is fun. It is fun, which I had fun watching it. I have fun thinking about it. I'm having fun in this conversation. It's great. Yeah, that's actually one of the things which I think is so funny because I don't think that Sid Field would have loved the screenplay.
No.
For This Means More, because the whole chapter on action sequences he was talking about how to write them. And the big lesson I've learned in reading this versus like what I came into thinking a screenplay is about is just the amount of stylistic choice you still have while writing a screenplay. So you still need to have, like in a novel, you expect during like intense action scenes to have like those short sentences and just like bursts of things, like really explosive language, all that stuff. In my head, before I read this book, I would have been like, I don't know that the actual screenplay needs to do that. That's the point of the director, whatever. No. To have like a good written, well-written screenplay, you also need to have all those short sentences and the explosive language and stuff. And it's just really interesting. He says that you need to balance it a little bit more, which This Means More does not do. But so good.
Doesn't mean that I don't like it. Also, I'm talking about writing a sequel to The Covenant, which is a horrible movie. I love it.
I've never seen it. So
are you broken?
We should watch it when we're together.
Listen, Wallace will be down for that. She loves that movie.
Yeah. Wait, is there another version? Guy Ritchie's The Covenant is coming out?
You don't want that one. You want the 2006 The Covenant.
Okay, thank you. I was like,
Guy Ritchie had one that came out this year.
Oh. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I would love to add it to our list.
Listen.
That practical magic. We're just.
It's got horrible, 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 like very wooden dialogue. Awful dialogue. Horrible. There's a part where Sebastian Stan's character, who has powers and is a witch, like does something and is like, ooh, witchy. And I'm like, this is awful. This is the worst thing I've ever seen. And I love that movie. So
what? Okay, I'm so excited.
I'm just saying.
It has such an interesting cast, just looking at this. I mean, okay. I'm pumped.
It's so good. It's so bad.
Okay.
So you know.
Honestly, that you could sell me on a lot of movies if that's what you explain it as.
So yeah.
That's just,
so good, so bad.
Speaks to my soul. I be great, excellent. Thank you. Yes. That's all the questions I had. We've covered it. Did anyone else have anything on Gone Girl, writing thrillers maybe? Are you trying to write a thriller? Do you have any thrillers you like? You know, we can just.
Do you just want us to tell you what our plans are for next month? Like,
yeah, we can roll into it.
What are you guys looking forward to right now?
Feeling. What's the vibe?
Oh, I'm looking forward to this being over so I can go eat pizza.
Okay, that feels very good. Yes. So then let's move to the chatting and telling them what we're doing for not just next month, but November as well. It's a twofer.
It is a 2 for Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
We're being kind.
Yes.
Because next month is Preptober and then Nanober.
Yeah.
How it goes, but we're going with it.
I think it's just
we've been talking about it all year. We've been hyping it up. It's time. The time is here. We're going to be doing Vampire Academy.
Right. And we're doing all
of the Vampire Academy. We are reading the first book. We are watching the movie. And we are watching, at the very least, the first episode of the TV show.
Here's the thing. Yes, I think I'm going to try. Okay. Vampire Academy, I stopped reading after, I want to say, the third book because I got very hurt by it. Right. And then I still have literally an episode and a half of the Vampire Academy series to watch because I apparently can't let things end. And so I just stop watching. So for me, my personal challenge is to finish the series and finish the book series, at least the first 5. And we have a special guest star who will be joining us, even though we've not actually planned the exact date it will be happening.
It'll be Bex.
Becca! Of course you're still invited to
You're
that.
still invited. We just now told you that we're doing 2 months instead of 1. Aren't you happy? We explained this to you ahead of time.
Surprise!
I've watched all of the series. I've read all of the Vampire Academy. I've also read Bloodlines, which is the sequel series. I've watched the movie so many times that I can tell you pretty much the entire opening scene word for word. Yeah. I should say opening scenes plural.
Yeah.
The flashback and the modern day. The dream sequence, if you will, and the aftermath of the dream sequence, because I've seen it that many times. It also is horrible, but so good.
It's so good. Yeah, this is what... Okay, so I've read all the books and the spinoff and watched the movie. Still haven't watched the show yet. I need to do that. Okay. This is the other thing we're adding to the list.
They change so much in the show. They change so much in the show. Like, the entire society is completely different. And it is so fucking good.
It was a
like,
good
it is so, like, the acting was great. The costuming was great. The world changes they made were fantastic. I don't know how it didn't get a second season. Like, I literally do not understand. So good.
I'm also a little surprised, even though I've not seen the last episode and a half. But from what I saw of the first bit, I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I'm surprised and a little bummed.
This is my thing that I don't understand. I understand the concept of, a lot of times the reason why, especially like CW shows and Netflix shows, they won't renew for a second season, even if the first season was profitable, is because once the season has been profitable, the actors are like, oh, hey, we want more money. And it costs them less to fund an entire new show, build new sets, and do all of these things than it does to pay the actors more money. I don't think that makes sense to me, but that is what I've been told, like why they cycle through series so often, even if it's a popular series. Which makes me very grumpy, because I want to see season 2. I want it to happen.
Yeah. Well, and those actors, I feel like almost all of them will be popping up in other stuff. A lot of them were very charismatic, like through the, and I was just so impressed that the casting did such a good job of getting just such charming people that
they had much better banter than the movie did. They felt more like the characters than the movie did. So good. So good.
Yeah. Yes, this is what I was gonna say. Was it the car crash tumbling scene? Yeah. And it was bad. It's better, I think I remember, than what we saw, but like I wouldn't say it's incredible, if I'm remembering right.
Yeah. But, you said that when we watched it, because we watched it together.
We did.
We watched the first episode together last year at the cabin.
Yeah.
And yeah. It was fine.
It was fine. I also was about to make this a question earlier, so I'm just going to ask real quick. JC is saying, sort of related to screenplay writing, while writing Project Death, do you sometimes think it could also be a movie one day? I think that Project Death could be like a mini series. So my question for y'all is, what like story that you're writing do you think could be best adapted for the screen? And is that a mini series? Is that a TV show? Is it a movie? So I'm throwing it to you, Jessica.
I mean, probably the cheapest to do would be French Grim Reaper. Very little special effects would be needed. It's set in modern day, not a whole lot. But probably the best would be the adult high fantasy, because I feel like it would be for fans of like Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, not writing style. Please don't think that I'm anywhere in there. I'm just talking story in general. Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, Wheel of Time, like that kind of like a world that exists. Brandon Sanderson's worlds, like it's very similar to that. So like, yes, I think it could make great TV series, movie series, whatever. But I don't know that I think that French Grim Reaper would make a great movie. The second book would make a good movie. The other Graveyard Book would be a good movie. But
yeah.
You know, it's whatever.
I think French Grim Reaper could be a good TV show. Like I could
It would
see
be a good Disney show.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say I could see like a CW.
I don't even know that it's edgy enough for the CW.
No, I think it could be. I think they'd reinterpret it to make it edgy
If
enough.
someone else was writing it, it could be good for the CW.
The concept, I think, is perfect, like CW stuff. A standalone little book about a writer living in an old house with 5 ghosts as unofficial housemates. I would love that. I can't tell if you're describing something or if this is what you're currently working on. I missed.
I think that's the one that she would want turned into a movie.
Okay. Oh, I would love that. Yes.
The CW is not the CW anymore, but it's
I know.
Someone else. I don't remember.
Yeah. Does my cabaret chicken? I think that is. I absolutely think that is. I think that is so cool. Yes. Yeah. All right. I think that's it. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And we will see y'all sometime in the next 2 months. And by that, I mean, we'll see y'all sometime in like November. To do.
We may pop up
October.
We'll probably do a Preptober stream and talk about planning and things.
Yeah.
And December will be our rating our books that we read for the year, and probably the movies too.
Yeah.
Do a book rating and a book tier rating and a movie tier rating.
Yeah.
But
combine them for the true chaos. Well, because I mean, Jaws movie, Jaws book.
Like I'm like, I know what the worst is gonna be.
Was it Jaws?
Jaws.
Yeah.
I think. I don't think we read anything worse than that this year.
I know. I just like rack my brain. This year's been so weird that I'm just like, where did we start? Because we had some that we. Anyway,
listen, we didn't do a great job, y'all, but we were here. That's all I got.
For December. I'm excited. I like the ranking. So, all right. Thank you guys for joining us, and we will see y'all next time. Yeah. Bye.